this thing on?
Is this one
Hi.
on?
Hi, everybody. So I just wanted to say just a quick 5 words. Not 5 words, but 5 minutes. Thank you so much, everybody, for turning up today. I was panicking that nobody was going to show, and it's a great turnout. And also, thank you so much to our amazing sponsors for coming today and being part of this event. So, as you all may know, we have a really juicy prize up for grabs today. So we have $5,000 worth of BTC. Is that correct?
That is correct.
Okay.
Not 5,000 BTC. No one is walking out of here a multimillionaire. Well, maybe not.
So to enter, we have mega fans here with us today. They're an esports tournament. You can head over to near the entrance, and the lovely Jeff from Mega Fans will tell you how to enter. So yeah, good luck. And I think that's it for me.
Macy, you've done such an amazing job.
Thank you.
Look at all these people.
I know.
You didn't screw it up. Macy, you're awesome. Thank you so much for organizing this. Thank you, all of you, for coming. I'm going to say a few words now, and then we're going to get into it. Sound good? Yeah.
Yeah, thank you again, guys. I'll leave it with the one and only Guy. Thank you.
You know, I've always been fond of history. Carl Sagan once said, "You have to know the past to understand the present." But even if you have a good grasp of history, the times we find ourselves in today, the world we're living in, it doesn't make an awful lot of sense. The 21st century so far has just been wild. And we find ourselves as a species facing this growing list of what seems like some insurmountable problems. Our inbox is full. And we need to be able to hope. We need to be able to believe that at least some of these problems can be solved sometime soon. And I get my belief, I get my hope in that from crypto. Now, let's not kid ourselves. Crypto and blockchain are not going to solve all of the world's problems. Bitcoin does not fix everything. But when you look past the hype, you see a small but growing group of some of the finest minds that we have working to solve one of the biggest problems that we face. We have a financial system that does not work. Well, no, it does work so long as you're rich, so long as you work in the city or on Wall Street, so long as you're an accredited investor. It works for about 25 basis points worth of humanity. It's not fit for purpose, and it needs to change. Now, the crypto community is small, and we get a lot of flack, and some of it we deserve. But this is a group of people working together to solve this big problem that we have. You look beyond the hype, and when you live as I do, when you spend as much time as I do, and I'm sure as many of you do, in a kind of crypto-shaped bubble, then that crypto community can seem a lot bigger than it actually is. But the fact is, folks, there aren't enough of us yet. We need more people, and that is people like you. People who understand what crypto can do for us, who are curious to learn about crypto, who want to know more, who can look beyond just the prices of any given number of coins and tokens. We need people like you to spread the word about crypto, to get crypto out there so it can help more people. Now, not many of us in here are shadowy supercoders. Okay, what I know about coding, you can write on the back of a microchip in crayon. But that's not to say that we don't have something to offer. We don't have something to give to this industry we love so much. And that is what I want today to be about. I want today to be an opportunity for you, the crypto community, to mingle, to get together, to look each other in the eye, to shake hands, to hang out, to make new friends, to have ideas, to be inspired, to make contacts. Because this is how the industry that we love grows. Now, we have some amazing sponsors and speakers here today, and I just want to take a moment now to thank them for making today possible, for everything that they've done to help us organize this event. And I want to thank our speakers as well for coming to share their knowledge, their wisdom, their passion, their insights with us. Thank you all so much. But we have some extra special VIPs here today. And they are all of you. You are why we are having this event today. You are why I and my team and all the other content creators we're so lucky to have today, you are the reason we do what we do. We couldn't do it without you, and it wouldn't be any fun if we did. So thank you so much for coming today. And if I can just finish on a personal note, the thing that I've been looking forward to most about today is getting to meet as many of you good people as possible. So, I'm coming for you. Okay? And I hope that you enjoy today nonetheless for knowing that. So I'd like to introduce our first discussion. We're very lucky. Alex from Swissborg, a great friend of the Coin Bureau. He is going to come and talk with John from Lunar Crush. We're going to have a fireside chat with them. So if I can welcome them to the stage. And guys, thank you again for coming. It's going to be an amazing day.
Microphone check. All right. Let's give it up for Guy Macy, everybody. Thank you so much for this event. Incredible, incredible team. How is London doing today? I want to hear you guys. Woo! This room was built in 1775, so I think we can tear it down all together if you can scream from the top of your lungs, Coin Bureau. You guys ready? 3, 2, 1, Coin Bureau. Ready? Yeah?
Yeah.
3, 2, 1.
Coin Bureau!
3, 2, 1.
Coin Bureau!
Nice. Very, very nice. So before we kick off, everybody, who here started investing between 2013 to 2017? Show me your hands. Okay. Who started investing from 2019, 2020, 2021? Okay. So you're crying every single day. Is that correct? For those who are here more recently, we are in pain. We're in pain. So if you see somebody today that you want to relate to, just give them a big hug and say, I'm here for you. The funny thing is, actually, oh, you're there for me? Thank you, brother. Thank you so much. All right, so the topic of today is the actual community, and we have here, of course, John Farjo, Chief Product Officer at Lunar Crush. Who here is using Lunar Crush? Woo! All right. So we're gonna kick off, guys, by a story. Every human being has a story behind him or her out here. And we're gonna talk about community, John, TradFi, DeFi, what made this transition. Tell us a little bit about how you got into this crazy degen world.
So I typically say I got into crypto back in the 80s with baseball cards. And I should also say my dad, he would have the Wall Street Journal in our house, and I would be so curious why the Sunday edition was so thick and what all those numbers were. And I think it probably started there, and then trading cards, and then getting into stocks. And it's interesting where your careers take you versus where your interests sometimes take you. And I worked in marketing, advertising, software, design, development, UX, product management, strategy. Like I did all sorts of different things, but the whole way through I was trading. And so when around 2013, I was working, I was doing, I remember a project at a very large agency for an automotive brand, and one of the guys I was working with was talking about Bitcoin. And I was like, what is Bitcoin? What is this thing? And that was the time when if you were in Bitcoin, a lot of times people thought it was illegal, right? It wasn't even real. What are you doing? But I went and set up an account on Mt. Gox, and the rest is history. So it was pretty fun. But it's kind of one of those things. No matter how you perform with your trades, you stay in crypto because you keep researching. You go deeper. You find the next thing. And then you find another thing, and you just keep getting excited. And what's amazing to see with what's happening now is it's moving from this sort of experimental stage to, we're having discussions about scalability because the applications that are being built need scale. It's a much different playing field than what we've seen. So very exciting times.
Amazing. I was actually in Paris, guys, recently, and I asked someone, what do you feel about the markets these days? And I don't care. We're building, right? So there's that different mindset, and I really appreciate hearing about that mindset that you had. And so all of a sudden, you're thinking about Lunar Crush. You guys kind of just kicked off in the background, not too much noise, and started gaining momentum. Tell us about why Lunar Crush. What problem were you trying to solve, and what do you want to achieve?
So we started with Lunar Crush before it was Lunar Crush. We were investors, and we were discovering projects on social, Ethereum, Monero, Dash, and on. And we're like, what's going on? And sometimes it would go great, and sometimes not. And we would think, we all use social media every day, and we think personally that we have a good sense of what's going on. Here's the sentiment today, because this is what I see. But what you're really seeing is a tiny slice of what's going on. You're seeing those who you follow and maybe a few degrees away. You might be going to the crypto news sites, but you're consuming just that much news. And so we were curious, okay, great, so a lot of people continue to talk about Bitcoin, but is that more or less than yesterday? What about last week? What about last month? And so how do we quantify that? So as traders, we wanted to start collecting that ourselves, and we did. And then we went deeper, and then we went deeper, and then we said, you know what, we have a company. And guess what, guys? It's time to leave our day jobs. And so we built it for ourselves as investors, and we kind of just started there. And I think there's a lot to be said about starting with building a solution for yourself so that you can help others. And it's another thing to say, hey, we got this big idea, we promise it's coming in 2 years, can we raise $50 million? With no traction and no users. And so we took the approach of solving a problem for ourselves, for our own needs. And I think that's an important lesson in any startup, is to solve a problem first. So.
You guys heard it. It's time to leave your day jobs and join the family, join the community. That's a really nice phrase right there. And obviously, who here uses technical analysis for entering your positions or exiting your positions? Technical analysis is very well known. You guys are coming up with something called social sentiment, or some people may call it sentiment analysis. Could this eventually be even bigger or more accurate than technical analysis one day?
I think there's, I often say it's like painting a picture. You don't look at any metric on any one moment and say, I'm done, I got it. Same thing with technical analysis. It's an idea, And that idea even has a shelf life. At some point, that shelf life is done. You're done, and now what? And then now what? And then now what? And so we kind of look at social as you're painting a picture over time. As you do that, you start to establish conviction. You start to establish looking at other metrics. And one of the reasons we created Lunar Crush is because, gosh, we're busy looking at price all the time. Why are we looking at price? Why did price move? Not just volume. What caused people to buy? What caused them to sell? How many? How many? Not one whale, but how many people? How many holders are there? How many people are talking about this stuff? It just so happens when you start to broaden out what you're looking at. It's fascinating. One of the first things that we noticed when we launched Lunar Crush was chain link. And we noticed chain link not because price was moving straight up. We noticed it because the community consistently kept increasing. It wasn't like they hired an influencer or two. They had this organic community that just kept going and going. I was just telling you, we saw it with Terra last year. We saw Terra not because price moved, but because the community just kept increasing. And on that note, it's one thing to say that we're looking at the number of social mentions of Terra or Luna. It's another thing, and it's one thing to capture all those posts. We capture millions of posts every day. It's another to go deeper and to say, do those posts have any engagement? Is there a lot of people posting or just a few people posting a lot? Is it bullish or bearish sentiment? And we use machine learning to help identify that. And who is posting? So it's also one thing to say that there's a lot of bot or spam accounts, which is a huge topic I'm sure we'll talk about. It's another thing to say that it's some of the key influencers out there that are constantly fighting the good fight and really advocating for the brand that these coins are. And so we look at it as it's really a multi-dimensional thing.
Hopefully Elon will solve the problem of bots soon. But guys, who here finds it quite complicated to measure the right data or the right numbers? It's quite difficult, right, in terms of the quality of the data. And I would love to hear what you guys are doing at Lunar Crush. What are some of the metrics that you can help us identify these patterns and what you guys are doing differently to stand out in the crowd?
Start with looking at social engagement. And what that is the depth of a post. So if Alex here goes and posts something about Bitcoin, was there no comments back? Was there a lot of retweets? Was there a lot of likes on your post? Who did it? Is it a bunch of bots that responded to him, or is it real influential people? So start looking at engagement. Engagement means that when things happen, the community participates. And so if you start to see trends in engagement over time that keep increasing, that's definitely something to look at. So I would start there. There's another metric that I really love that we've come up with called AltRank. AltRank is really amazing, not because it tells you when something's going to moon. Everyone talks about the next 100x. Everyone talks about the next moon bag that you can go and buy. No one wants to talk about protecting your downside risk. And so when you look at our AltRank, right now in these trying times in the crypto market, stablecoins are ranking really, really high. And that is not because they're outperforming from a price perspective. It's because everyone's talking about stablecoins. And so when you look at it from that perspective, it's telling you, it's actually an amazing bearish signal when stablecoins, we're all talking about stablecoins. And there's a lot more exciting things to talk about than that. And so I'd just say to pay attention to AltRank, pay attention to engagement.
Awesome, thank you so much for that. And so what are you doing at Lunar Crush that helps you give quality data to everyone here over other websites? And where should people start? So you said engagement, AltRanks, any simple first steps that they can use on Lunar Crush?
Well, one of the things we've done is we've made it easy. We automatically provide insights, because this is a lot of metrics. It's one thing to go to one of the pricing websites out there and say, okay, that's the price of whatever coin today. It's another thing to have 22 different social dimensions and what you should look at across the 30 coins that might be your favorite. So what we do is we actually surface insights across everything. Where there's anomalies in any metric, we bring those right to the surface. So it's a focus there. The other thing I would just mention is, we actually leverage the power of the community to make our data stronger. And so we leverage, so we capture about 300 million opinions so far since December, and about, I think, 3 million a day. And we use that data to help train other data. We actually have a whole model that's going to get smarter over time as we implement more and more tactics. So, as we grow as a brand, as we grow as a community, we're actually having that feedback from the community make the data stronger. And I think where that's really important, we can't get away from the fact of, Elon buying Twitter, and there's a bot problem. There's so much spam. I mean, we post, and I think every post that we get gets, even with blocking a lot of these bots, there's more and more, 10, 15 every single post. And so it's out of control. Turns out that's actually a solvable problem. They just haven't. And so what's hard is solving freedom of speech. When you think about that, whether it's a developer putting something into place, or the community participating, or tokenizing something like Twitter, this is a huge challenge. No one solved it yet. These multi-billion-dollar, some of the largest companies in the world have not solved it yet. So this is going to be a challenge going forward, but I wish everyone luck, and as a collective, hopefully it's something we can improve upon.
Awesome, and obviously we have many YouTubers out here, people following TikTok, some Twitter accounts. Like, where's the highest quality of data and information on these days?
So most of the engagement that goes on in the crypto space happens on Twitter. So it's something like 80-something% of all the social posts. We capture social activity from a lot of different sources. We're all on Twitter. And so I'd say, considering that, be careful who you're following. Be careful what you're going to see constantly coming into your feed every day. I would, at a minimum, I would focus on, go to Lunar Crush, use the influencers tool, see who's an influencer for the coins that you care about. And it's not like a popularity contest. It's not our opinion. We have an algorithm that calculates influence based upon the activity, the engagement, and the following that these individuals have relative to each other. And we do it per coin. We also do it globally across the entire market. And I'd say, look at some of those individuals that are really advocating for the projects that you care most about. It's a great place to start. And then really go from there.
So John, you've mentioned the word community many, many times so far, and not customers or clients or users. You're using community. Can you please tell the community out here why they're so important to this space?
We're in a new dimension here. The community is important because the community owns the projects. If you think of the past, it's been very few individuals that own the world, basically. This is a pivotal moment where we all have a voice, we all have a say. And I think when you go down that path and you think of solving some of the greatest challenges of our time, I think that's a starting point. When we all have a voice, we can make change. And so I think that's a big fundamental challenge that everything is right now. And I think I'm really excited about that.
Giving me goosebumps, buddy. That was really awesome. So how do you engage people? How can people engage other people, right? Because as Guy was saying earlier, we're quite small, and we don't necessarily have the best public perception sometimes. How do we engage more people and get them involved?
That's a challenging question. I think we have to get out of the echo chamber that crypto sometimes is in. A lot of times we're talking to each other, but we're not talking to those that we want to bring into the space. And so I think some of this is broadening things out. It's talking to individuals that are asking you about crypto more. It's attending conferences that may not have anything to do with crypto. It's really going to the next level because, we still have a long ways to go. We're on one hand, we're talking about changing the world. On the other hand, a Bored Ape NFT drop crashes Ethereum. So we have a gap. This is a long-term game. And the other thing I would say is just we need to have patience. One thing that we constantly see is, I want to be a millionaire, and I want to be a millionaire in the next hour. And if I'm not, I'm going to tweet that this project's a scam. And so we have a patience of that, yet we're talking about changing the world. That sounds to me like a 100-year challenge. It sounds like a challenge for the future generations. It sounds like we're forever holders in this generation, in this room. It's not a pump and dump. It's investing your life in crypto. That's the way I think we need to really look at this.
Beautifully said. I'm very patient, by the way, guys. I just check the price every 2-3 minutes, right? So, running a business is hard, right? Any startup CEOs or people who want to maybe create their own startup in the future? Anyone? Okay, we don't have a lot of people. Oh, yeah, okay. Hands are being raised. So one thing, John, that's extremely complicated, on top of being in crypto, that's just that extra layer that really screws you over, right? But going from startup to scale up to becoming an established player, right? Like, tell us about the difficulties and what you're going through and what you're dealing on a day-to-day basis and how you're trying to solve these problems.
So it's a challenge. It's a big challenge, especially like, when you're really small and you have, very few users and you're just trying to figure things out. You tend to have much more time on your hands to maybe engage with the community. As you grow, you grow your team, you grow your following. The expectation of keeping everyone informed grows exponentially more than your team size. And so one of the things that we do is we know that crypto is so socially driven. We constantly post about, what do you want from us? What do you want to see? Any utilities we can build for you? What would help you understand the data that you're seeing more? And we really constantly do that. And we genuinely believe that that feedback helps us with our product roadmap, with execution, and we genuinely involve it. Over time, we want to make the community, really a stakeholder in the future of Lunar Crush. And I think if you look at it that way, is like the community is not like someone you're tweeting to, they are you. And I think that's, again, if someone has the magic formula in here, please let me know. But from our standpoint, we just continually try to involve the community. And I'd say on that front, Discord is a huge thing. We use Discord a lot. We have a big Discord, and there's so much feedback that's constantly flowing in there from all over the world, by the way, which is pretty crazy. Like everyone in here is global. We're from all over the world, every time zone. And so, for us, it's also having resources at our end that are awake. I live near Los Angeles, and we are on the edge of the earth as far as time zones go. And so, we need individuals all around the world to engage with that community because it is on a 24-hour scale.
I want to hug you so bad right now. Like, you're so nice. Next question is probably, who would like to be one day an influencer, maybe on Twitter, or would like to start your own YouTube channel? Anybody here interested in becoming like that? I'm sure many of you have been inspired by Guy and Macy, and it's a very complicated world. Like, do you have any ideas based on the data that you see on a day-to-day basis on if someone out here wants to become influential? Like, how do we do that?
It starts with understanding what you stand for and what you want your brand to be. And I say that this space is very tactical right now. This space is all about execution. We haven't gotten to the point of really talking about building brands. I know Norman's going to come up here soon and talk about that. But, it takes an understanding up front. And I say that because when we see the biggest influencers in this space, on average, they're posting roughly 20 times a day. 20 times a day. Think about that effort every day. So if you think about your own social efforts, what's your frequency? And then as you become frequent, that engagement you're getting back, is that building? Is that building from the right audience? And when I say right audience, it means like going back to the strategy up front. What do you stand for? What is your brand? What are you trying to do? Does that match the engagement that you're trying to get? And I think when you know that that feels right, you've won. You've done it right. And then you just keep growing that. And I think a lot of what we see, who thinks there's a lot of nonsense on Twitter? Right? And a lot of that nonsense is, it's pumping. It's too much pumping, right? It's pumping for the next hour, not pumping for the rest of your life. It's not strategic, it's tactical. And so when we look at this, I would just advise, start thinking about your brand and what you want to stand for in this space and out of this space. What do you want those out of this space to think of it so that they come in and join us? And so I'd say that's a really big missing piece right there. And we do that, and conferences like this are going to need a stadium pretty soon. So I think that's really critically important. We need new people in this space, and this is super exciting right now with where we're at.
That's really good advice. So understanding who you are, what you stand for, what are your principles, what's your message, and then frequency, as you mentioned yesterday, right? Like actually, Martini guy was telling me that as soon as he started posting twice the amount of posts on Twitter, his following just increased like dramatically. So frequency is a great point as well. Listen, John, crypto is 24/7. It's intense. You know, I'm sure a lot of you have some low moments. Currently, as of today, as we mentioned earlier, we're going to be hugging each other all day. I literally walking in, I could see some of you just like smiling, even not knowing who you are. It's just like, I'm happy to see you. I'm happy to feel pain together. But it's intense. How can we kind of lower this intensity level, and how can we, you know, not be constantly, you know, stressing out?
It comes back to patience. It comes back to a long-term horizon. You know, like as an example, if you're a Bitcoiner, if you've been in Bitcoin for a long time, or even if you're trading alts to earn more Bitcoin or whatever it is, that's a typical strategy, is to earn more Bitcoin, right? When you think of kind of that perspective, that's like a lifelong perspective. You know, you hopefully die at age 150 someday holding a ton of Bitcoin. You're not thinking about spending your Bitcoin. You're not thinking about really doing anything other than stacking it at this point. And so I think it's just, again, patience. It's that long-term horizon. Think that way. Think that way. It helps everyone to calm down just a little bit. And I'd say another thing too is like when you think through, I got into crypto in like 2013. This is, I don't know, down cycle. I don't even know how many. How many has there been? 3, 4? It is painful. It is painful, right? And it's painful because these have a duration to them of sometimes a year, right? Like you could be moving downward for a year and just going, oh my gosh, like it sucks. And what do most of us do in the morning? We flip on our cell phone and what's the price of X? And that's painful to do that constantly. But if you think out long term, wasn't so long ago that there was never a down day in Bitcoin, as an example, right? You could have bought at any moment in history and you were in the green. There will be people that enter today who will have that same story. And so, but if we're just thinking about today alone, it's not enough. So I think just patience, that would be my biggest advice there.
When in doubt, zoom out, right, as we say a lot. When it comes to change, right, if you had a magic wand today, John, and you could change one thing in the crypto community or make something happen, what would that be?
Well, I love this community. I love this space. I love the vibe and like everyone's such an entrepreneur and so excited. There's more excitement in this space. I would have that excitement be contagious to the rest of us that aren't in this space right now. So I would say, like, what's one thing I would change? I would want the rest of the world to be involved in this in some manner. And again, that's my magic wand. I don't know what that is that has to go to that level, if it's a global event, if it's an acceptance by major corporations, like Apple was mentioned yesterday at the meetup. I just look at it as I wish that everyone was involved. I want to go to my hotel and I want to pay in crypto. It's still not there. I want to go to breakfast and coffee, pay with crypto. And yes, there are some places that accept it, but we're not there yet. We're still not there yet. And so I would hope for that. And again, I'm going to go back to my point of patience.
And the very last question I'd love to ask you is, very difficult question, what is your final message for all the lovely people here who are joining us today?
Have fun with this. Stop stressing out. Just enjoy yourself. This is the most exciting time. We are so lucky to be here right now in the middle of this. I mean, how much money is there in this space that's coming in right now? And think about the fact that you're here. It's early. It's early. And I would just say enjoy yourself and pace yourself.
Give it up for John Farjo from Lunar Crush. Thank you so much, everybody, and look forward to hugging you throughout the day.
Alex Swissborg. no way am I going to have that much energy as that guy does. I'm from Eastern Europe, so a little bit more stoic. My name is Norman Rabinovich. I am the Chief Creative Officer at Lunar Crush. So for everyone that, our booth is over here, so for everyone that loves the illustrations and the brand, that's all me. For everyone that hates the illustrations and brands, that's John. So, and just want to quickly say that there is a little pig on our backdrop. We call him the Lunar Pig. We want to make that little fucker viral, okay? So if you guys can take pictures of it yourselves with him and then share it, it would be greatly appreciated. Okay, so I wanted to quickly talk to all of you guys a little bit about brand in general. And then I want to bring up a really special speaker with us today. From the beginning, Lunar Crush has always valued the importance of brand when it comes to building a business. Back in November, when we launched our token, we went from 200,000 users to now between 2.5 to 3 million users. And a lot of that is predicated on the idea of brand and purpose and why that matters. And for us, we've always doubled down on this idea that brand is not just a logo, it's not just graphics, it's not just colors, it's not a design system. It's the living embodiment of how we do our business. And for us, it's been a tremendous amount of success moving forward, and I think that, and it's also one of those things that's very, very different when it comes to crypto, because of the very reason of how fast crypto works. How fast we're in a position that we're constantly having to iterate and jump on things and move. And brand functions in the same capacity when it comes to Web3 and crypto. So for all of you people that are, obviously working in the space, or curious in the space, developing projects in the space, you should have that as be top of mind for you as well. What is your purpose? Why do you matter? Why do you choose to exist as a company? And today, we have a very special guest that's going to be coming up to talk about his journey and the work that he's been doing to date. So let me give you a brief introduction. So he's an academic, he's a researcher, he's a chief scientist, and now he's a CEO. Prior to joining Zilliqa, he's held positions at Brave, Microsoft Research, and Netscape. He's taught at the University of Washington, MIT, UCL Center for Blockchain, and the Imperial College here in London. It's my pleasure to bring to the stage Dr. Ben Lifshitz.
All right, hello.
Okay.
Good to be here.
So this talk is going to be comprised of two different parts, since we're talking about brand. First is we're going to talk about your personal brand. And second of all, we're going to talk about branding in Web3, blockchain, crypto, and all things Zilliqa. But before I get into all of this, okay, I have a very serious question to ask, okay? So if Rabinovich and Lifshitz were starting a business in the 1900s in New York, would we A, have a schmata business?
A kosher butchery.
A kosher butchery?
I think a kosher butchery would be.
Or an accounting firm, kosher butcher.
My vote goes to the kosher butchery outcome, yeah.
Beautiful, beautiful. All right, so I want to start out with a pretty big question for you. What are the personal values that drive you as a leader, not only at Zilliqa, but within Web3 and blockchain?
Yeah, that's a great question. So, look, I mean, we all bring a slightly different set of personal values to this space. And I think for me, it's a combination of things. And so, certainly, and we'll talk about that a little bit later on when I talk about my journey with the Brave and things of that sort. But, one of the things that I guess this is not very common, right? I mean, one of the things that got me into the crypto space is sort of the research background. You know, reading papers about security, privacy, blockchain, distributed systems, programming languages, all these hard and, to me, exciting topics that, you know, eventually, if you look at them long and hard, actually you fall into this rabbit hole of blockchain. So that's sort of one aspect of things. The other aspect of things that really appeals to me as well is the focus on openness, and that comes in different forms as well. So open source is another topic that's near and dear to my heart, and I've been involved and have been working on open source projects for quite a number of years. And again, the academic background meshes with that really nicely as well. And maybe the last bit is sort of empowering the individual. And again, this is something that applies to self-sovereignty over your funds, but also applies to, you know, end-user products like what we had with a browser like Brave.
Beautiful. Beautiful. Thank you. And then can we talk a little bit about, just in general, your personal progression from being a research scientist and academic, being the chief scientist at Brave, and now leading Zilliqa?
Well, so look, I mean, as a research scientist, you primarily find really exciting hard problems and try to solve them and then publish the results, right? And of course, for some people, that's enough. And for others, they actually want to see what, you know, what they've done actually deployed and implemented. For many years, I was a research scientist at Microsoft Research, and that's kind of what I did, right? So, you know, we built interesting technology that made it to products like Microsoft Office and Bing, and as well as a bunch of others. And of course, the challenge in that space is that while you're solving really hard problems and are getting recognized for that by your academic peers and are beefing up your citation count and things of that sort, the ability to create larger products out of that is still fairly limited because you really only have, you know, yourself and a few peers to rely on, and so that's one of the key challenges. Now, that's one of the reasons I moved to Brave and became the chief scientist and built the research department there. And there, you know, what we did, which was very much science-oriented, very much, you know, solving hard problems, but it's solving hard problems that affect, at this point, something like 50 million users every single day. And so I'll give you a few examples of the things we built, you know, just a few years ago. So a lot of the machine learning machinery that empowers Brave's system for delivering advertising was built by our team. A lot of the machinery that's there to prevent user tracking online, right, to basically enhance all of these techniques that were kind of in Brave, you know, 4 or 5 years ago, you know, taking it to where things are, came out of the research done by our team and so on and so forth. So to me, these things are intricately connected. And of course, you know, the foundations of blockchain, the technical foundations of blockchain, of course, go back to, you know, distributed system research that in many cases is, I don't know, 40 years old. In some cases, of course, is a lot more recent. And so what we do at Zilliqa these days, among other things, of course, is we look at the papers that, you know, have come out in some cases in the 3 to 6 months and then figure out what it might be that takes us to the next level of our blockchain infrastructure. So it's a fairly integral part of what I've been doing, you know, for the past I'd say about 15 years, give or take, and certainly that's what we do at Zilliqa these days as well.
Beautiful, thank you. Let's jump into branding Web3 and blockchain for a sec. So what does the term brand mean in Web3, blockchain, crypto, and for NFTs, in your mind?
Yeah, I'm not sure if I have sort of the best answer to this question. I mean, I suppose it's a combination of sort of community loyalty, perhaps. Maybe that's the right way to look at it, as well as a combination of technologies that, you know, come with that. Maybe that's the right combination because, again, you cannot underemphasize, you know, community involvement and the value of community participation and sort of the continuity that that gives you as a project, I would say.
Right. And how does it differ, for instance, I mean, you've had experiences at companies like Microsoft. Like, what are the main differences that you've seen kind of in both spaces comparatively?
I mean, I think it's an entirely different game. So the value you can harness if you sort of do the right thing by your community, if you treat them well, if you sort of harness the power of the community in this space is astounding, I would say, compared to, I don't know, an off-the-shelf product like Microsoft Word or something like that, which obviously, has tons of people using it every single day, without a doubt, but it's not the same relationship, it's not the same engagement, it's not the same kind of support, let's say, that you get, because again, things are amazing in the bull market, but of course, things might get rough when we enter bear market, and then community can really help a project through that, through a time like that.
Thank you. So in October 2021, you took the helm as CEO of Zilliqa. We talk a lot about purpose here at Lunar Crush. Why do we exist? Would the world miss us if we were gone? So the question I have for you, what is Zilliqa's purpose and why does Zilliqa matter?
Wow, that's a pretty heavy question. So look, the blockchain space is expanding, right? I mean, what we have now is, a lot more by way of the selection of L1s out there, layer 1 blockchains, of course, many more L2s out there as well, lots and lots of other projects compared to where we were in 2016, 17, 18, and so on and so forth. And we are seeing a lot of maturation. And we are there with Zilliqa to offer more options, more choices to people who are builders, who want to create projects on top of layer 1 blockchains. We give them a nice combination of language safety, performance, throughput, as well as the cost of using the blockchain itself. And that's one of the reasons why we're important. Of course, we're not going to stop at that. The project has been around for a while. And one of the reasons I came in was to basically try and take Zilliqa to the next plateau in terms of performance, in terms of what we offer to projects that build on top of us, and so on and so forth.
Cool. We talk a lot about the general and the specific when it comes to branding. And the idea that you are a level 1 blockchain, but also need to appeal and support groundbreaking projects across verticals. How do you deal with building not only a recognizable brand for yourself, but then also having to support so many brands and individual projects on Zilliqa? It's a challenge.
It is a challenge, and this is the kind of thing that we have to, try and address every single day, right? So we are taking, the last several months we've been pushing ourselves in the direction of what we call Metapolis, which is our Metaverse play, as well as gaming and those kinds of verticals. But at the same time, we cannot abandon the projects that have built on Zilliqa in the past, and we also have to support, various players who are in slightly more traditional areas, perhaps, such as DeFi and things of that sort. And trying to balance that, it is fairly difficult, right? So you want to basically provide features to people who want to build games, but at the same time, you don't want to leave too many other projects behind. And so it is a balancing act. There is nothing else to say about that, yep.
Right, because it's such a diversity. You have ninjas in pajamas, as an example, and then...
It's true. And certainly we've seen some number of L1s that have specialized quite a bit, and some have gone into the direction of gaming, and some have been just basically forks or side chains of Ethereum, for example, for some of the games. So yeah, definitely we'll see some amount of specialization, and of course, we have to decide where we want to be in that spectrum between being a supremely kind of general purpose, L1, and one that, gives features to some types of applications over others.
At Lunar Crush, we say, without a community, there is no crypto. Why do you think community matters so much for us in this space?
Look, for an L1, I think the answer is actually relatively clear. It's the kinds of things I already spoke about, which is, basically cheering for you during good times and then supporting you, if you will, during not so good times. So that's definitely one thing. But also, in terms of usage, right, in terms of users, wallet owners, so to speak, as well as, of course, developers. A lot of that stuff comes through the community. A lot of projects filter through the community as well. And again, that's not quite as common. And this is only something you sort of might have seen, I don't know, a decade or two ago in open source, and I think by then it's sort of dwindled. But you still see this kind of stuff in crypto every single day, and that's what's exciting. And this is why we are, in fact, putting a lot more energy as well as professional effort into our community organization. We've just recently hired a number of other people to help us with that. So we'll be digging into that and making that a lot more structured and a lot more effective as well.
Very cool. What are some ways you engage community for both Zilliqa and for the individual verticals? What has worked well for you in the past?
I think we are basically trying to scale up this effort. The effort we had in the past was fine when we were operating as a smaller company. Now, as we're growing as a company, we basically need to figure out how to make these engagements scalable as the community grows as well. And so we're trying to basically make the verticals of interacting with developers who want to build on DeFi a little bit separate from the vertical of people who want to build games and use those SDKs, from the vertical of people who just want to use the blockchain to transact, right? And so there's that. There's quite a lot more happening across different languages. There's quite a lot more happening now that COVID is sort of kind of over. With in-person engagement, things like meetups are coming back. Hackathons are starting to come back as well. So those are some of the ways in which this is sort of progressing at the moment.
Can you also kind of elaborate on the Metapolis a bit? So the Zilliqa Metaverse that is being set up as a Metaverse as a service platform, how can brands get involved?
So we're in fact in the process of onboarding brands as we speak, and so you just go to our website and you go to the Zilliqa website, you find a link to Metapolis, and basically go from there. And we're very happy to take on brands. We are in the process of building more and more domes for these brands, and that's really the nature of this Metaverse as a service kind of approach, which we're quite excited about, both as something that's futuristic, but also as a business opportunity for us at Zilliqa. So there's that.
Cool. Kind of looking at the overarching picture for Zilliqa, how big is the market opportunity for Zilliqa right now? How do you look at growth? How do you look at your ecosystem? Where is it going? What are the next-gen apps in the Zilliqa ecosystem? And it's, again, another big question.
Quite a number of, big questions there. So look, we need to look at this from the long-term perspective, right? I was just, on the way here, I was listening to a podcast, Bankless podcast, in fact, by somebody who's involved in Cosmos, and I was just kind of thinking about, how that ecosystem developed, because for a while it was fairly quiet, right? And now, of course, you have lots of interesting projects. And I think, the same happens to different L1s, right? Things might be quiet for a while, and then there's a form of flourishment that happens, and of course I'm there to help to create this kind of flourishment. So in terms of focusing on, we have multiple focus areas. First, there is a push to add more in terms of the technology stack. So we announced our upcoming support for the EVM, as well as a faster compilation path for Scilla, which is the language we've had on Zilliqa for some number of years. So that's the one area, but that's not the end. So, in coming months, we'll probably be announcing other things on our roadmap as well. So that's sort of one aspect. Then there are these vertical pushes. I already mentioned gaming, as well as Metapolis and the focus on the Metaverse. So we're quite keen to make sure that that yields results in coming months. So there's a focus on NFTs. We'll be revealing some of that fairly soon as well. So that gives you some number of other examples.
That's great. Thank you for shedding some light on that. All right, I have 2 more questions for you. First question, because of how insane this world is and how much time is allocated in your day-to-day, what are some tactics that you use to stay sane?
Yeah, that's an excellent question. I have to, I'll admit that compared to sort of, more corporate job, this is a lot more, well, let's say hectic and crazy pretty much every single day of the week. And I think certainly having a group of individuals right, within the company where you're sort of on the same wavelength, right? You have the same sense of what's accepted and what's not, and what should be encouraged and what not. Certainly is, that's what helps you go forward, I'd say.
Very good. And then finally, what would you like to leave us with today?
First, I'm really excited to be here because I'm a huge fan of coinbureau. I've been a listener for quite a while now, so that's certainly one thing, and I'm very grateful to them to be able to present on this stage. So that's the one thing. The other thing is that, again, remember that the space is growing, right? And we sort of don't know which way things will look like, half a year from now, a year from now, and so on and so forth. So just keep watching. Keep watching it.
Dr. Ben Lifshitz.
Is this on? Can I just, I've always wanted to say this, so bear with me. Hello, London! That's about as animated as I'm going to get today, don't worry. Okay, we're really lucky to have some other awesome crypto YouTubers joining us today. We're going to have a panel discussion. We're going to talk, well, the headline is the evolution of altcoins, but I've been having a chat with these guys backstage, and let me tell you, it's going to go in all sorts of directions. These guys are absolutely awesome. So can you please give it up for Josh and Tom from CryptoBusy, and Yasuke from Coin Club Japan. Give them a great big hand. Josh, how you doing? Good to see you. Thanks, man. All right. Whew. Everyone got a mic?
Yeah.
Good. Is this a fireside, or is this a panel?
We could, yeah.
I think it's a panel.
Bit of both.
Okay. Panel. Is there? I think we should get this out of the way first. Is there a collective noun for a group of crypto YouTubers?
A gaggle.
A gaggle.
A gaggle of crypto YouTubers.
Probably don't want to know the answer to that, do we? Okay, guys. So I thought, here we are. Isn't this amazing? Isn't it?
It's crazy.
Amazing
really
turnout.
good.
Thank you all so much. So I thought we'd kick off. We're going to talk about altcoins. So, I mean, where do we even start? I thought I'd go just ask each of you in turn, like, what was the first altcoin you bought, and why?
I first bought Ethereum, and just because at the time a lot of my friends are buying it,
Sure.
that was my first, just a reason to just bought it.
Okay. And were you? I mean, were you kind of looking into the potential of it then? Because I mean, back then there was so little choice, wasn't there? It's like I know a lot of people who were kind of just buying for a bit of diversification, if nothing else.
Yeah.
But you liked the sound of what Ethereum was doing.
Yeah, at the time, like 2017, 2008, yeah, around that time.
Okay.
Yeah. I finally understood what they want, trying to kind of achieve.
Yeah.
Then, I just thought that was super cool. That was my first decision to buy it. Then that's obvious. As you mentioned, it's good for diversify the coins, right? So
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Tom, what about you, man?
So for myself, it was November 2017, and I was still in uni at the time, just finishing off some of my final exams right now. But this was back in when I was doing my foundation degree in engineering, and I was searching around, interested in what there is about with crypto. I saw a news article back in September of that year saying that Bitcoin just surpassed a certain level, $2,000, $5,000, something like that. And I thought, that's interesting. I've heard about it for a while. Let's have a look more into it. Let's search this on YouTube, search it on Google. After a bit of searching, I came across XRP, and I invested about £20 in XRP back in December of 2017, November, December. And that was just before we saw that parabolic move from 20 cents all the way up to $3.
Oh, wow. So you timed it.
And I didn't sell, and I'm still holding to this day. So, but ever since then, diversifying the portfolio, looking into other altcoins as well, and that's been the journey. And I also spoke to Josh, and I said, Josh, look, these are some interesting cryptocurrencies.
You showed me XRP, basically.
I showed you XRP. And we had a look at Ethereum as well. Yeah.
Yeah, no, I took a look at Ethereum and XRP to start with. I believe, yeah, XRP was what, 15 cents, 10 cents, something like that. And then, again, didn't sell either, but it's all right. Yeah, Ethereum was kind of the main one, as you said. Found out what they were doing, and apart from Bitcoin, it seemed like the only like true one. You had like Litecoin as well, maybe, but those were just the main ones, I guess.
Okay, so I mean, let's talk about XRP a bit because it's
it's in the news.
It's in the news. It sure is.
It's in the news.
And also, I mean, we recently did a podcast episode about altcoins, and researching that, it was so interesting to kind of look back through that because you realise that XRP is one of the OGs. It's been around for almost longer than, well, certainly most others now. But obviously, this is a difficult time. So, I mean, what do you guys see the future for XRP? Where do you see it going?
Okay, so the United States is the only country in the world that is suing Ripple Labs over the fact that it is, or potentially could be deemed as a security. Every other country in the world see XRP as a non-security. So there is the shifting sands of geopolitical tensions in the world at the moment. So there's a lot of macro stuff that's happening that's affecting, and I think in the background of why XRP is involved in this case. Ripple Labs themselves, they've been invested, well, they've had investment from Google all the way back from 2012, 2013. So as you said, they've been around for a long time. The main thing really is I've heard from Brad Garlinghouse, he's been on the news, he said that 90% or the majority of their business is outside the United States. So even if, in the unlikely event, in my opinion, that Ripple Labs were to lose this case, they still have most of their business outside of the States. Most likely, the way things usually go with an SEC lawsuit is that they go to some form of settlement. Whether this will be this year or next year, we just have to wait and see. Long-term perspective on this one. But if they did settle, if they did an outright win, then it'd be looking very good for XRP in the future.
Okay, Yusuke, what are your thoughts on XRP? Do you share that view?
Yeah, I think it's just coming to the point, the majority of the activities outside of the US, then coming from Japanese, I'm Japanese, and there's actually a lot of XRP community in Japan, it's super strong. So when I see that, I can totally see those, the support no matter what's gonna happen. And I think it's, despite the fact that there's so many geopolitical pressures and stuff like that, but I just hope that the community is gonna take this XRP, and we're gonna also see a lot of use cases. Yeah.
Sure. And I wanted to ask: what other altcoins are big in Japan? As we say, what ones are doing well there compared to the rest of the world?
So just to give you background, so in Japan, it's really hard to buy coins. The biggest exchanges only carry 20 different coins. If you go to Binance, you see 300s or something like that, right? They only get 20 or something. So options are limited. Among that, XRP is one of them. Cardano I see huge community.
Yeah. Because, I think Cardano's sold a lot to Japanese investors early on, didn't they? ADA became very popular in Japan.
Yeah. On my channel, I spoke to Charles Hoskinson. Yeah, he shared the story of how he started, this Cardano in Japan. He was living in Japan, Tokyo, and Osaka at the time. Then, so that's why there's so many communities from then. Yeah. So that's why Cardano is one of the big one.
Cool.
Yeah.
Cool. So guys, I wanted to ask you as well, how did you two meet? Did you bond? It sounded like you kind of bonded over XRP a little bit. But
Sounds like it.
Oh, yeah, I was going to say, well, we were actually born in the same hospital 2 days apart. So
no way.
Yeah, we 2 days apart, and then have been childhood friends pretty much ever since because our parents made friends. So kind of just grew up knowing each other, and then luckily you introduced me to crypto when we were 18.
And then we've always wanted to create a YouTube channel. So I think combining the new interest in crypto with the wants to create a YouTube channel, we put the two together, came up with some different names and everything, and then eventually, I think it was like March of 2018, just as the market was tanking, of course, we created CryptoBusy. And we went to our first crypto conference in March 2018, and we had about
3 subscribers.
Yes, and we were telling people, please subscribe to our channel, and CryptoBusy ever since then has grown to an audience of 211,000, and we're growing. And with that, we've created an amazing community along the way, and that's one of the fascinating things that we find in crypto is that you can create such an amazing community and really, collaborating in that sort of way. It's great fun.
Because the crypto community is awesome, right?
It is, yeah, big time.
Super passionate.
So I want to talk about, I was having a chat earlier with someone about layer ones, and they were asking me, which ones I'm bullish on, and how I see the future, obviously, because we have Ethereum leading the market share, kind of unusable at times, especially if you're trying to buy land in certain metaverses. So what are all your layer one sort of diversification plays, if you like? What do you think is going to be around to kind of keep Ethereum on its toes in the next few years?
Okay, I'll go. Solana, and I do think Cardano specifically, Cardano I think will definitely keep Ethereum on its toes. They're doing a lot of good innovation behind the scenes. They are partnering with many countries as well, many governments, companies. That is what you want to be seeing. Now Ethereum, it's the second in market cap. Market cap's doing really well. Where it could a hurdle would be the Ethereum 2. So launching Ethereum 2. Last year they had the EIP 1559. That was great to see. So in some cases and at some times it can be a deflationary model, not all the time, but in some cases. Meaning that whenever you transact Ethereum, a part of Ethereum is burned. And so supply and demand, if the supply goes down but the demand stays the same, or if it increases, then the price, in theory, should increase. So that is one. Other cryptocurrencies, whether they're layer one or not, other cryptocurrencies and altcoins we love talking about at CryptoBusy is VeChain and Zilliqa. VeChain solving a lot of issues with supply chains, and Zilliqa solving a lot of issues with scalability. So sharding, you split up the blockchain into infinite amounts. I'm talking sort of very high level here. And you can, in theory, you can run an infinite amount of transactions, and it is solutions, cryptocurrencies that can solve those problems, I think, are the ones that are going to stick around for a long time.
And VeChain has kind of changed direction a little bit recently, hasn't it? Josh, can you, what do you see, how do you see VeChain going from here?
Yeah, well, I think VeChain's going to be super successful, hopefully more. It's got one of those communities in crypto where, with Lunar Crush, for example, it's always like a top 10 coin in terms of social interaction. I've seen it really just explode over the last few years in terms of that social interaction, and the community behind it, I feel like, will be one of the biggest driving forces on why it is and does become so successful. But I think, as we saw recently, it's now become, there's 2 million people that can use its payment, and there's just that scalability that it has. And the potential for it is just huge, I think. And like I said, I think because it already has such a strong community, exterior companies that aren't already in crypto will see that, and they might think, well, this company this has got such a good basis here, a foundation, we want to adopt it. And then that just leads to the mass spread of adoption.
Do you think then that, when investors, and big institutional guys, when the smart money is looking at a crypto project, at an altcoin project, do you think that community engagement, the size of their community, do you think that plays a big part? Because I feel that crypto communities around sort of certain coins, they can be amazing. And Josh, I absolutely agree. VeChain does have an amazing community who, appreciate what it's trying to do. I think a lot of other communities can tend to fall short of that and can tend to be more about hyping it up, because I think, let's face it, a lot of it is speculation. So, how important do you think an actual community around a project is?
For institutions?
Yeah, for the big guys.
Big guys, well, I'm not certainly big guys, I don't know, but it's, to me, well, maybe they focus more on maybe speculation, more like fundamental level of like technologies and stuff like that. I think the Messari, like a research said that the polka dot, is one of the coins that institutions are accumulating. And I think when I see that they might be like super bullish on this like a layer 0, like a relay chain, the whole entire ecosystem that's being built, versus like a specific community, like how loud the voice is, maybe they think through and they see through the future of like use cases and stuff like that.
Yeah, I was going to say with huge firms that are looking to acquire these coins or buy coins, I think in the same way that they're going to look at tokenomics, they're going to look at all of these different things. I think community does play a big part, and I think it's almost like a validator that the coin is going to be successful by the fact that it's already amassed such a passionate group of people. Like I said, I think you can get some very toxic communities, you can get some crazy communities, but I think as long as they assess them properly and you can see why are they so passionate, is it because of the use case rather than just the price going up, then you can build a case for buying it on that maybe as a larger investor.
Yeah. Okay. And so, I mean, the big talk at the moment, we can't get away from it here, can we? The fact that the crypto market at the moment is looking a bit dicey, isn't it? It's not looking great out there. But I mean, that's not to say that that's not to say that there isn't so much development, so much progress happening behind the scenes. But certainly, you could argue that a lot of coins are on sale at the moment. So, assuming we have this kind of volatility, the market stays suppressed over the next few months, which I think is likely to be the case, at least for the next few months. Yeah. Tom, do you disagree?
I do agree. There's going to be a lot of pressure on the market.
Yeah.
The good news is that all of the downward pressure that we've seen on Bitcoin recently, I mean, it went to about 40K and then it tanked to about sort of 36. I checked just before we came on, still at 36. This is all outside of the crypto space. So the Federal Reserve, they said back in January or February this year, we're going to raise interest rates. Then Wall Street had their knee-jerk reaction. That caused a bit of a fire sale again. Then it picked up a bit. And then on Thursday, the Federal Reserve said, we're going to raise interest rates. And then the market started to pump again. We're thinking, okay, that's good. I like the sound of that. And then the Bank of England decided to raise their interest rates. And then you're seeing a bit of a tank in price from there. So there is pressure from the stock markets, and then also just, again, what we've been through for the past 2 years as well, inflation and central banks trying to find a way to deal with inflation. So Bitcoin has only ever existed in a low interest rate world. So interest rates have been historically low. We're now going to be living in times where interest rates might be raised to higher levels, maybe higher than 1%. And that, again, is going to put pressure on markets because the central banks, retail banks are kind of force people to save their money. And if they save their money in their bank account, they get a better return. And so then there'll be fewer people wanting to put their money out into the markets. However, there have been times in the past, in the 70s and 80s, where interest rates were high, like 10%, 15%.
Yeah.
And the markets did well. So it does not mean that. The main thing is crypto is doing its thing. There is the innovation there. And I think especially what's been happening recently in Ukraine with the invasion that's happened there, the Ukraine government, they said, well, here's our ECR 20 address, and they got about 40 million, nearly $100 million in crypto. Real world use case for crypto right there in a time of need. So it's a big thing. And
I think that moment when Ukraine put out that address and made it possible for anyone with an internet connection to send money to help people in that conflict, I think that's going to be such a landmark moment for crypto. I kind of feel that as a space, as an industry, we missed that a little bit. We didn't dwell perhaps enough on the importance of that moment.
I agree. Yeah, I do. Totally. And so, I think for the next few months, there will be some more pressure on Bitcoin. longer term, I think as we see more central banks and companies adopting Bitcoin, that will in turn, I think, in my opinion, help with the price in the future. Again, it's not all about the price, it's all about how can it solve the issues, as you mentioned in the beginning when you opened the stage. How amazing the crypto community is. It's not going to solve every issue, but if it's implemented well in the right way, with the right ethics behind it, you're going to solve a lot of issues that are in the world at the moment. So it's looking good.
Absolutely, absolutely. So I just want to ask, I want to ask you guys a couple more questions, just more sort of altcoin related. Under the conditions that we have at the moment, what are the three of you keeping an eye on? What are you eyeing up at the moment?
Well, for me, I'm actually staking a lot of coins because I think that's going to be huge to make the passive income. While we see bear market or crash or whatever, even just stable coins, because you can get quite good rates in certain exchanges. So let's say I'm staking a good amount of stable coin for 10-15% a year maybe. Then I can reinvest those profits into altcoins that I want to pick up when they're on sale, like today. So I'm so glad that I have that reserve to be able to do that. So I definitely always think people should think about doing staking or something of that effect. In terms of actual coins I'm looking to pick up, more of the ones we always say, Zilliqa, VeChain, Utrust I'm a big fan of as well. And just keep building the portfolio. I don't want to spread myself too thin, so I usually focus on the big top 100, maybe top 200. But there are a few like micro caps that we like to invest in as kind of like as a business that have done quite well and will hopefully continue to do so.
Awesome. Yusuke, what about you? Is there anything that you're eyeing up at the moment?
Yes. So I have been focusing on GameFi projects.
Okay.
So I'm Japanese. I grew up playing video games, and then now there's so many Japanese game companies that are building, the GameFi projects. So I'm super excited about it because I invested a lot of money in DeFi, but the problem of like a DeFi or like any other projects were like it's easy to copy, right? But then video game is so difficult to create. Like you have to have like concept artists, and then 3D, asset creation, level design, game design, economy design, all those things have to come together. So like it's really hard to copy as a project itself. And I'm super bullish on especially the games that are built by professional game developers because they know how to incentivize, like hook people, right? So as long as game is fun, then players going to be there, then volume is going to be there always. So yeah, I have been putting a lot of money in GameFi projects and buying at a discount.
Okay, because it's interesting, isn't it, the NFT and gaming aspect of it? Because we've seen actually quite a lot of pushback from gamers, from not necessarily from the gaming industry, but the gaming community against GameFi, against NFTs, against play to earn. What do you think these companies are going to have to do to try and get those guys back on side, or to accommodate them?
Yeah, I think to me, the reaction was just to me, that's just a reaction to the new technology, new phase. If you look back at the game industry, like when the free-to-play game came to the industry, then there's a lot of pushback from the community. But then people get used to it, then people now play free-to-play game, like that's become normal. And I think a lot of people is gonna get used to that. But then I think right now, for example, I don't know, Japanese company called like Square Enix, one of the biggest game company. They this year stated that they're gonna go in full, like all in a crypto development. So I think once those big guys are gonna come, the people's gonna be like, okay, this is gonna be the future. Then people's gonna accept.
Yeah, because I mean, part of me thinks, like, do you need to? Can you accommodate all these diverse views? Because some people don't have any time for crypto. Some people in crypto have no time for NFTs or for Metaverse plays or any other aspect. Some people are Bitcoin maxis and have no time for anything apart from Bitcoin. But I mean, do you think communities do you think builders in that space, do you think they need to try and accommodate more of these people, or is it more a case of like we just have to build the best products that we can and people will come to them? What do you think?
I think as long as the project is good, the game is good, then like players gonna come, developers gonna come, and all the people's gonna come. That's what I personally believe, and I think the quality of the game and project itself, have to be at least on par to like free to play, like a mobile game or AAA title game. Then I think a lot of everything else is gonna come. I mean, the people's gonna come and play.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know if that's.
Yeah. Okay, and I want to throw one more question out to all of you guys. This is one that I get asked so much. What is the optimum number of coins, tokens in a portfolio? How high do we go? Can we go completely degen? Can we go into 3 figures?
Yeah, don't spread yourself too thinly. I mean, if you look on CoinMarketCap right now, I think it's something nearly 19,000, 20,000 cryptocurrencies that CoinMarketCap show. So don't get 20K and put £1 or $1 into each one of those. Don't do that. You're going to spread yourself way too thinly. Look into projects that are solving real-world issues. So as we mentioned, VeChain, Zilliqa, XRP, even Bitcoin itself, they're solving real-world issues. For myself, I probably hold less than 15, maybe less than 12 cryptocurrencies, personally. Because if I go any more than that, then I feel like, if I see more opportunity with maybe 5 out of the 12 or the 15, I wouldn't want to take away from those 5, if you know what I mean. And then also prioritize them, sort of have like a tier list, have S, then A, B, C, right? And take it from there. But that's what I would do. Other people would say, invest as many as you can and just see what happens. And if you can get a Shiba Inu situation where you invest $1, fine, well done. But that, for me, is not a smart way to go about it. Have a look at the team, the white paper, the community, as we mentioned today. That's really important. And then also, fundamentally, look at the partnerships and where they're going into and what are they trying to solve. And that's what I would say.
Yeah, I completely agree with what you said. I think spreading yourself too thinly can definitely be a problem. I think also it comes down to your own personal finance, your own personal situation. If you have a lot of money to invest, then you can afford to go and maybe put certain amounts in like loads of coins. But I think if you're just playing around with a small amount to start with, the best thing to do is find some projects you resonate with, find some projects you actually believe in. Just how you would in maybe the stock market, you look at the actual backlog of what have these companies done, what can they do in the future, roadmaps, all of that stuff. And I know we don't want to talk about hype and stuff, but like hype is important sometimes if you're looking to make money. And I think a lot of people are in crypto to make money, right? So that does play a part. And I think it's just a mixture of that. Again, I maybe hold 20 main ones, but I do have a few like micro cap investments, but I wouldn't really call them main portfolio investments because they're not large enough. But yeah, I just focus on 20 main ones. The majority of my holding is still going to be Bitcoin, Ethereum, just to have that stability there. And a lot of stable coin as well to stake and earn that passive income so I can spend it and replenish the altcoin portfolio when things go down.
You need to have that dry powder, don't you? It's really, That's something I always say to people as well. And it can be so difficult, can't it? You're sitting on perhaps quite a nice stack of UST or USDC and just the temptation to just ape in as soon as the price takes a dip. But I think that's one of the most important lessons that I've learned actually is to always make sure you're sitting on some dry powder. And a big, a sizable part of, I think, any well-balanced portfolio should be some stable coin sitting on the side, preferably a decentralized stable coin, preferably not a very popular stable coin, which we won't mention here. Yusuke, what about you? How big is too big?
Well, as long as if you cannot track your portfolio, I think that's too much, right? I mean, I have too many. So I don't recommend having too much. I have maybe over 100 maybe. So as long as you can manage your portfolio and track, each and every day, and then also when market, goes down, if you can manage sell at the right time, then that's good. But if you cannot do that, I think that's probably too much.
Okay, so I want to just finish it up quickly. I just want to ask each of you in turn. When you open up your laptop first thing in the morning, if you do get up in the morning, that is, when you open your laptop for the first time each day, what is the first site you go to? Do you straight away check the prices, or put it another way, what's the first sort of non-price chart site that you check?
Coinbureau. I mean, yeah, of course, right? That's why I think a lot of us actually do watch your video every day.
Thank you.
I think, yeah, I'd say part of my routine, because the first thing I'd look into is BitScreener or CoinMarketCap. Then I check through Twitter, and then immediately afterwards I check on YouTube, and I just do just type in crypto, Bitcoin, see what people are making, people are talking about, and then I check Telegram as well, and then just reply to those messages, check CoinMarketCap again, cry, and then the cycle repeats. That's what I do.
I'm a big technical analyst when it comes to crypto and markets in general, so I was doing Forex and stocks. So first thing, TradingView, opening it up, seeing how the charts have played out based on my previous analysis. And then, yeah, Twitter as well. I think, like we say, fundamentals are important just to be aware of, even if they don't always drive the price. And yeah, that's pretty much it. And then, yeah, cry at my BitScreener every couple of hours.
That early morning dive into crypto Twitter, it's
wild.
It's tough, isn't it? Wow. Well, guys, thank you so much for joining us today. It's such a privilege to have you here. Thank you for coming along and talking with us and sharing your insights with us. And I just have one final question for all of you. Are you going to come back next year?
Of course.
Yeah?
Of course, if there's an invitation. Yeah, yes.
Definitely.
Awesome. Guys, thank you so much. And thank you, guys. I hope you found that useful.
Thank you.
Thank you. Cheers, guys. I'm just going to introduce the next lot. Okay. Now we're going to talk Metaverse. We are really lucky to have one of our amazing sponsors here today, Unique Network, coming off the back of a parachain slot. Congratulations, guys. We're going to be joined now by Irina, is going to talk to us about next generation NFTs and future developments for the NFT space. So will you please give a very big hand for Irina from Unique Network.
Good afternoon, everyone. First of all, I'd like to thank amazing team, coinbureau, for putting this together. And it's really exciting to see all of you here, because if you are here, that means we're doing the right thing by building the metaverse. And I would like to begin by the definition. What is the metaverse? And most importantly, why should you care? So Tim Sweeney defined the metaverse as decentralized, borderless network of cyberspaces. Doesn't say a lot, right? Like, still, what is this about? And I like to define the metaverse as a multi-layer space with its own economy. And economy here plays the most important role. And in this part of decentralized economy is where cryptocurrency fits in, and is where NFT infrastructure and blockchain fits in and makes the difference. So at Unique Network, we're building the next generation infrastructure for NFTs, hence for the metaverse. As an architect, I can legitimately say that if you build a good foundation that can last you for centuries, that means you can build a good building that stands on top, because if you don't, the building either collapses or has a crack. So we need to pay close attention to the foundations that we're building in the space. So far, in the metaverse, you've probably heard about some games, virtual worlds, like Second Life. And you may ask me, okay, so what is the difference between the Second Life and any other metaverse that is being built with blockchain and cryptocurrency? Because Second Life also had monetary system in, it had front end, interaction, it's gaming experience. Why now we should pay attention to all the metaverses being built? Well, it's because NFTs, which are being non-fungible tokens, which represent unique assets, and fungible tokens, which represent cryptocurrencies, they give power back to the creators and to users. And with this power, we now can really build many more spaces independent from central platforms. Every creator out there can have his own NFT platform and can build his own metaverse or launch an NFT marketplace, anything you can imagine in the creative economy. And so what about NFTs, unique assets? I'm an NFT. You're an NFT. We are unique, right? So building this infrastructure for unique assets and having in mind that blockchain at the end of the day is database. But database that stores the information about our uniqueness, that stores value, and enables us to transfer this value in other platforms. And here's where I want to talk about Polkadot. Because Polkadot is a blockchain of blockchains. It enables communication between different parachains. And parachains can have specific function like unique network. They can be NFT-specific parachains. They can be DeFi parachains. Any use case you can imagine. And what we've seen before, Polkadot and third-generation blockchains entering the space, is that NFTs were treated like avatars, JPEGs, that you could buy, sell, store in your wallet. And there is a little bit more of use cases, but not really revolutionary tech, right? Not really much of a blockchain development. So how does this native third-generation blockchains help us to really build next-level open metaverse where NFTs are not just JPEGs? Well, by its native functions. So unique network has features like scheduling. You can schedule transaction fees. It is scalable. By the nature of the Polkadot, what we mean to do is mass adoption. Because if NFT is available to everyone, that means every one of you should be able to access the space, should be able to create, mint NFT, sell it, rent it, you name it. Exercise your bundle of rights like you exercise it over a physical property, over your digital property. You should be able to really own it. And to scale, Polkadot gives us forkless upgrades. It gives us very, very low transaction fees. So you don't have to care about paying $500 for minting a single NFT. This has been one of the biggest barriers to entry into the NFT space, especially for creators, especially if you're young and you're starting out. It gives us very, very, very advanced features, which have been jointly developed with the CTO of Unique Network, Greg Zaitsev, and the founder of Remark, very famous NFT launchpad in Polkadot ecosystem, Bruno Squark. So with nesting, you can really gamify your assets or bundle them in a different manner. Now you can build NFT relationships. So you can have one NFT owning another NFT. You can build generational relations. You can bundle it with the stablecoin, which we're launching soon. First will be USDT, and second will be AUSD, a native stablecoin of Akala. And then enabling communication among other parachains, you can actually freely move your unique asset to other platforms. You can use it in a DeFi protocol. You can earn on it. You can lend it. You can earn interest on lending it. There are so many more use cases. Another interesting feature we're working on is refungibility. Refungibility allows you to have fractional ownership of NFTs. I know this does exist already, fractional NFTs, but what happens in Polkadot is that refundability is native to the chain. You do not have to code the smart contract. You can just create a native refundable token. What this allows you to do is, if you have a unique art piece, you can break it down. You can decide that you want to own a CryptoBank as a community. Each piece of CryptoBank would cost $1. You own 1 million pieces. You create a DAO in one click by doing this. Or you can bundle it with stablecoin and send it as a gift card. So you can have one art piece and send it to your loved ones for a birthday with a video and a USDT. And again, I want to come back to the point that we are a foundation. We're working on the heavy lifting of blockchain development. And I believe that majority of you, as creators, as business owners, as artists, you don't really care about the blockchain and you don't want to deal with the blockchain complexities, because we do. So what we enabled for you as users is the easy entry point into the space. So we also have a product line, and we have a minter, which allows you to easily mint NFTs without any prior knowledge of the single line of code. We have a wallet, and we have a marketplace, which is a little bit more sophisticated for a little bit more advanced users, but it allows you as a creator to have your own NFT platform. You know that there are large marketplaces like OpenSea. They are successful. They gave first wave of creators a lot of opportunities to sell, to monetize their artwork, to get exposure. But it doesn't work anymore. The point is that blockchain is a very dynamic space, and you have to be on top of the game to succeed, because we're very, very early. We're seeing hundreds of thousands of proof of concepts. And now, as a creator, the trend is to build your own platform, to have your own marketplace, to build your own community, and to run your own show. And apart from that, we're enabling an NFT launchpad, a project called Citizen. This is to be released soon, so stay tuned for more news. And what I want to tell you, my main message today, and the answer to the question, why should you care about the metaverse, is that the whole blockchain space is really based, the most important concept here is decentralization. It's data ownership. Because, as Guy said this morning, current systems failed, and it's becoming more and more notorious. So what I always tell everyone, the most important thing is to take your responsibility. Take your responsibility for the business you run, take your responsibility for the assets you own, and your responsibility for your private keys, of course, because you all know what happens if you lose them. And the rest we need to build together as a community. Since it is very early, there are many tools in development. There is many more news to announce. But we need, in order to build the open metaverse, many players in the game. Because it has three key elements at the moment: the economy, blockchain layer, the identity, or avatars, if you like, and the VR and AR experience, so immersive experience that is bringing social networks, e-commerce, and other platforms to the next layer of interaction. We saw this flat internet, right? Facebook, Instagram, whatever. It's all again about JPEG images being shared in the space. But current developments in the virtual reality are absolutely amazing. And by pushing one another, so by progressing on the VR side, that will give a push to us as a blockchain, and we are really looking for that feedback from the creative side about the tools that need to be built. Substrate framework, which is the core component of Polkadot ecosystem, is really the most flexible framework to build on. And it's forkless. That means upgrades come in fairly easily. The blockchain is scalable, again, so we can serve millions and millions and trillions of users. And this industry is at the very infancy. So many of you here heard about the DeFi summer, and many of you lived it in August 2020. The next step for me will be the explosion of the NFT space, because pretty much every asset out there is unique. Think of many industries like pharmaceutical, where you have certificates, proof of authenticity, luxury industry, gaming industry, education, where you also have diplomas and certificates, and you need a proof of that. Will we see universities in the metaverse? Or will we see medical centers in the metaverse connecting to each other via VR and then using artificial intelligence to improve processes and make things easier? Everything is possible because we are the builders of the metaverse. And in the builder's role, we have a lot of power in our hands to enable pretty much anything. And again, we are very early in the space. So unleash your creativity. NFT began with the artists because they were brave, they were avant-garde. And there's a big difference between NFTs that are available for everyone, in certificates, easy things, and the crypto art. And crypto art is another very, very interesting topic for me because I am still looking for that avant-garde breakthrough, for the true liberation of human nature, for the true renaissance. And you know that in the last pandemic, we experienced the roaring 20s and 30s. We experienced the awakening moment, the bright moment after the dark times. And we are right now in that very sweet point of breakthrough because central platforms failed. Financial systems with their opacity need to be questioned. And now is the time for creators, for true avant-gardists, to come in this space and have their say. Because NFTs are much more than a JPEG, and you can do much, much more in the industry. And please do come and talk to me about the essential tools that we enabled. It is open source. This is another very important point here. It is accessible, it is open. Anybody can come in and fork our repositories. And we give away a marketplace, a wallet, and a minting solution for free. So every creator can have it today. There is no need to wait for next big thing. Because as builders, we understand that there is a big vision and there is a big picture. And we're working for the next 10 years, 20, 50, 100 years. But in order to enter the space today as a creator, you need to do small step at a time. So in 10 years, you come to a breakthrough in your career, in your creativity, in your business. Hence, we have the essential tools available for you. And we're releasing a lot of advanced features in the coming months. In June, we're becoming a parachain on Polkadot. And this is a very, very exciting beginning for all of us. So once again, take your responsibility and come talk to us. Thank you.
Irina, thank you so much. Really appreciate it. Unique is an amazing project. It's doing some really incredible work, so do check them out. So, guys, before we get on to our next speaker, I have a little bit of housekeeping to do. QR code. This is the QR code for the Telegram group CoinBureau Conference 2022. This is where you'll get all the kind of information about what's on the schedule. It's got a chat as well. It's the Telegram group that you need in your life right now. So scan the QR code. It's going to be up for a couple more minutes whilst I'm whittering on. Then Luke, who's coming up in a moment, he has some slides, so it'll be down, but then it's going to be up after that in the break, and you'll be able to get all your up-to-date information from there. Okay, how are we doing? Yes? Good, good. It's been a great day so far. It's so amazing to see so many of you here, and once again, I'm so grateful to all our sponsors and speakers who have come here today. And on that note, it's my very great pleasure to introduce from Kudos Network to talk about a deep dive into the metaverse, how VR is affecting and benefiting real-life agriculture. Please welcome Luke Nowicki from Kudos.
Hello, everyone. Hi. Let me just check if this works. It does. How is everyone doing today? Good? I can see the energy there. I'm very excited to be able to present at this very first CoinBureau's conference. My name is Luke Nowicki, and I'm going to talk about the open metaverse and how the decentralized cloud computing platform built by Kudo is helping build this new technology platform. I'm going to start by this quote by NVIDIA, by 2028, 50% of the internet will be powered by real-time 3D software. What we mean by real-time 3D software is the Unity engine, the Unreal engines that are used by games developers to create games. So as we see now, the internet is moving to much more of a 3D immersive experience, a 3D immersive web, where we see the shift from traditional games, which were just games for games to play and enjoy, people using games as platforms and more like social platforms. So people don't, and kids and teenagers and adults don't just play games to have fun, but they also socialize, spend time, trade virtual goods, and so on. But if you look at the history of computing in general, back in the 1990s and early 2000s, there was a dedicated infrastructure. You may remember those times when at your offices you had the server room with servers on site. That was because the internet was much more desktop-based. You only would use the internet when you have a computer on. Then what happened later, the emergence of cloud computing in mid-2000s, and the popularity of smartphones and mobile devices was this always-on, mobile-first internet. And that pushed the application complexity where people demanded on-demand compute all the time. What I mean by this, hosting of applications, streaming, rendering, and general application hosting. Then we have Web3, which is why we're all here today, thanks to the Web3 technology, based on which cryptocurrencies are based. And that also pushed the decentralized data architecture. So we have much more decentralized data architectures. And for the computations itself, it's pushing it much closer to the edges. And if you think about the gaming world, for example, this means that ever-increasing bigger virtual worlds with thousands or millions of players will require close computations at the edges of the network. So a little bit about myself, who I am. I've been building products for 10+ years and got into the crypto industry in 2017. Originally worked as an early team member of Kudo and Kudo Ventures, crypto startup. I'm the founder of Metaverse, a Web3 and Metaverse product consultancy, working with companies and founders on the project. And I've been building Metaverse products since early 2021, way before Facebook announced that they changed and rebrand themselves to Meta. I would like to start by saying what Metaverse isn't. It definitely isn't a VR, isn't an Oculus Quest or a headset. This is just one of the hardware devices you could use to access the Metaverse. The Metaverse is not just a computer game. It isn't a single virtual world, like just one virtual world. And it surely isn't Facebook or Meta, which a little bit stole that term, but also helped it gain mass popularity. And people have been working on Metaverse platforms for like 2-3 years at least. And the concept of the Metaverse has been popular before among some more niche communities and techies. So I'd like to define a little bit more about what we mean by the Metaverse and what it is. But I would like to say that there is no single definition of the Metaverse. There's no encyclopedic definition of the Metaverse. But I'll try to use my mental model, which hopefully will help you understand what we mean by the Metaverse. I like to think about the Metaverse as this next technology platform. So we have this move from the 2D internet to a 3D internet, the convergence of social, fintech, and gaming, where games are not just games anymore, they're big platforms. You know, the Roblox, the Fortnites, the traditional centralized games, where you have millions of users tuning in every day and playing, spending time and spending money, trading goods, and having fun, of course. So I also like to think about the Metaverse as the evolution of the mobile internet. So when I mentioned in the previous slide that the Web 2.0 pushed the application complexity to demand even more cloud computing, we now have this evolution of the mobile internet, which will demand a more edge computing, more decentralized and distributed computing. So to put it simple, I see the Metaverse as an immersive internet powered by real-time 3D software technology. And people often say that the Metaverse will be developed by games technologists, not web technologists, which I find quite interesting, as this requires slightly different types of technologies to be used. Then we have the Web 3, which is this decentralized internet, the internet built that leverages blockchain technology. And a key feature of that Web 3 tech is the ownership. But Web 3 is just this notion, and it's closely linked to the technological part, which is infrastructure, the Web 3 tech, and so on. What really Web 3 enables is this relatively new term called the ownership economy. And what ownership economy means is where all platforms and services, products are built by the users and owned and operated by the users. And what it enables us to do is to build projects that we can get communities, users organized around those projects. They can have some stake in those projects by owning tokens, NFTs, and so on, contribute to the network, help it build, create content, build new features, help promote, and so on. And they are incentivized as the network grows, the value of those tokens, NFTs, grows as well, and they're incentivized for that. So this is what I like to call a sweet spot for new projects and business models. And if you put a pin in the middle between the Metaverse, the Web 3, and the ownership economy, this is where I think we, especially from end last year, for the next 2 to 3 years, we have a lot of new projects, businesses, and startups created and formed. And that's a very exciting space to be and also invest in. So then again, going back to the increased complexity of applications and computations for the Metaverse. The Metaverse market is expected to reach 800 billion by 2024. It's a fast-growing market. There's lots of investment into the Metaverse. It's very easy to raise funds as a startup if you have a Metaverse product, game, and so on, or technology. As we see the shift into a 3D-based interconnected experiences, virtual worlds, and games, and so on, the access to low-latency computation becomes a top priority. With current centralized cloud computing, such as Google Cloud, AWS, which have huge amounts of hardware, not really sustainable because they had to build all those data centers and maintain them, even if they don't have any compute work. We are seeing a shift to a much more distributed computing infrastructure, where data centers based locally, close to the users, can send computations and, for example, host more players than before, reduce the latency that's needed to enable an online video game interaction or virtual world interaction. So in order to bridge that gap between the digital and physical worlds, which the metaverse is going to bridge, we need a high-performance computing at scale. This graphic shows the metaverse ecosystem. It's from Newzoo. It's from last year, actually. The metaverse ecosystem is much bigger now as the space grows very fast. But I would like to draw some distinctions between the open and the closed metaverse, especially the open metaverse, which I call the one that leverages blockchain technology. So we have the likes of the Sandbox virtual world, this Decentraland virtual world, who have, you can buy virtual land, you can buy NFTs, you can own that land and build your experiences. And you can monetize those experiences, or as a content creator, bring your fans in there. And those networks, those platforms, Decentraland is a great example. They're fully decentralized. If you own virtual land in Decentraland, you can decide on the future of the platform and on the feature set within Decentraland. There are other ones that are less decentralized, such as Sandbox, which is still very much centrally owned, but yet very popular with brands and creators and users. They have, though, decentralizations on their roadmap. So I draw this difference between the decentralized and centralized because they are done in a slightly different way. And yes, we see the likes of Fortnite thinking and talking about using NFTs and open technologies, but they're not truly open virtual worlds. So the ones I'm very excited about and what gets me out of bed every day are the ones that are truly open or will be truly open pretty soon. So what does it mean specifically for distributed cloud computing and the open metaverse? What are the things what are the problems that we need to solve and that the decentralized cloud computing can solve for the metaverse? So those are things like hosting virtual experiences locally to users with very, very low latency and very high synchronization between users. Ability to have a non-centrally owned computation. If I talk to you in a bar or in a park, this is our private conversation. No one can hear it. No one can listen to it. What if we move all our lives to virtual worlds, virtual platforms, or social networks? How can we have private discussions about how can I ensure that no one is listening to what I'm talking to you? Again, having computations on the edges that are encrypted on the hardware layer, which is what the Kudu's decentralized computing does, you could enable this privacy for those users who wish to do so, as opposed to centrally owned data centers where you can access the data and listen to everything. Things like hosting, storage, and retrieval of 3D metaverse assets. We're talking about a 3D version of the internet where you have complex virtual worlds with physics, graphics, textures, and avatars, and other cool stuff you can build in the metaverse. But that requires a lot more computation than you would do in the 2D world, which means having the edge computations on the edges is even more important to serve that content dynamically into those worlds and enable people to have a truly immersive experience that they need and they want. And there are other things such as compute for AI-powered 3D NFTs. We're going to see NFTs in those virtual worlds that are AI-based, that could be owned by users. They could do certain things, perhaps make money for you or attend events and get power-ups or maybe trade your crypto for you. And for that, you will need sort of computation for the AI machine learning to help them power. There's lots of different use cases. And in fact, many of the use cases are not even conceived or discovered. And as a side note, Kudo is launching a grants program for Web3 devs, creators, entrepreneurs to help come up with those use cases and build the technology for the metaverse. Talking more about the Web 2 versus Web 3, I started talking about the infrastructure, how compute and the application complexity has pushed cloud computing to new frontiers, and now we've got edge computing coming. Wanted to draw the differences between Web 2 and Web 3 and what this true digital ownership means. We can now truly own digital assets, which sounds like a simple thing, but if you zoom in and deep dive into what does it mean to own something truly digitally and that you're the only owner of that NFT piece of art, virtual land, or be it a physical product that is tied to this NFT. That enables us to create new sets of digital experiences in those virtual worlds, where you can trade assets, wearables, we can trade physical products that are manifested as NFTs in those virtual worlds. We also have, thanks to Web3, you can have this free, open metaverse economy where value can freely flow between the users. That means it's not centrally owned by any platform. You're not locked into any platform. You can buy an NFT in Decentraland, and you can 10 minutes later go and sell your NFT on OpenSea. No one can stop you doing that because it's all pegged to your crypto wallet, your Web3 identity. In terms of technology, again, with Web 2, we had the centralized compute infrastructure. Now, with Web3, we're looking at more distributed compute infrastructure with decentralized data architectures. And we also have this metaverse computing technology that will need to power the open metaverse. And this is where Kudos comes in as well, as a layer 1 blockchain and the compute network of hardware devices at the back. So summarizing the key dimensions of the open metaverse, and by the way, this is me spending coins in Decentraland's Boson Portal, which is a metaverse commerce experience built by Boson Protocol that I had the pleasure to work for. They brought brands into they bought some virtual land. They brought some brands like Tommy Hilfiger and some other clothing fashion brands. And you can literally go there and buy physical products as NFTs in a peer-to-peer decentralized way. So the dimensions of the open metaverse are very much similar to a typical crypto Web3 project, which is collective ownership. It's owned by the network of people. People are incentivized for the contributions to that network, product or service or game. Community support, which is, of course, at the very center, the main ethos of Web3 is community-driven, community-governed networks. Interoperable virtual worlds and experiences. And there are still a lot of challenges to be solved with regard to interoperability. And there are many startups trying to solve those challenges, building SDKs for Unity, Unreal Engine, and so on, to enable games developers, metaverse developers, and builders use Web3 tech. We're still not there yet, but more and more products and services are being created to, for example, transfer your one asset from one world to another, transfer your avatar as the way it looks, this 3D model, from one place to another. And that all enables us the value to freely flow between those worlds. And thanks to that, we have this self-sovereign identity, which is this notion of ability to fully govern and control and take ownership of your digital footprint that you do. Any transactions you make, any assets you own, any assets you decide to sell are truly owned by you, and you're the one who decides what to do with them. This is a metaverse framework from Matthew Ball's Metaverse framework, one of the most commonly used frameworks of how metaverse is constructed. There are other ones that are also great. This is not the exhaustive list. But what it does, it has these 7 different categories which will constitute to the growth and development of the open metaverse. Things like hardware, VR, Oculus Quest, desktop, mobile devices, and so on. Compute, which is where Kudo comes in with hosting virtual experiences and computations for the metaverse. Networking, virtual platforms, Decentraland, Sandbox, and so on. Interchange tools and standards. Payment services enabling on-ramp and off-ramp payments to help to make sure the economy can have, you can cash out from the metaverse and cash in. And of course, content services and assets. I couldn't stress it more than that the Web3 and metaverse will be all about content creators and ability to create digital content, mint it as an NFT, monetize that later, and make it participate in the free and open economy of the metaverse. So in this last slide, I wanted to talk about what exactly Kudo is doing specifically to help the open metaverse grow. Kudo are soon launching the layer 1 blockchain built with Cosmos SDK. So Kudo's token was launched a couple of years ago, but the company started far earlier in 2017, and I had an opportunity to be an early member of the team. And over the last 5 years, Kudo have been building this vast compute network of suppliers of computations for various users. One of them would be Metaverse. And You can, with Kudo's blockchain, you can write smart contracts in Rust, and so that means that developers can create decentralized applications that utilize a layer 2 compute network. So you can write smart contracts that utilize computation that is off-chain. You can launch your NFT projects and create NFTs in a slightly different way, because Kudo's NFTs are native on the blockchain. They're on par with the native token, which means streamlines your developer experience. It's faster to build NFTs, faster to mint them, saves you time, and also saves you money on minting them. And then the other thing is this distributed cloud computing platform, which is this supply of computing hardware that Kudo have been working with lots of supply data centers, local small data centers, and compute providers, aggregate them from all around the world. And anyone can join who has good enough hardware, or anyone who has a data center or some hardware can join the network, provide compute to the platform, and get incentivized in Kudo's token. And we see the metaverse as one of the big use cases because the economy is growing and there's so much innovation in the space. So the Kudo's cloud computing platform is a Web3-enabled cloud platform that will allow Web3 interactions. You can send transactions to the blockchain. You can buy compute. You can use blockchain as a settlement layer for buying compute. You could choose a number of hardware devices if you're a developer: GPU, CPU, storage, networking, and so on. And for the actual entrepreneurs or devs or techies, yes, it's low latency edge computing that can power your metaverse experiences, be it a VR experience, a web experience that requires a lot of high performance computation close to the user. And last but not least, it's decentralized and community governed and fully permission-less compute network, which is at the very ethos of Web3, at the very ethos of crypto, and why we're all here today, because we believe in this world where we can truly own networks, products, and services and get incentivized by participating in them rather than being extracted by centralized big platforms of the Web2 era.